you know, sir, why I'm asking is because I, as an entrepreneur, am betting on the India story. Right? We are all betting on the size of the pie to increase for us to have more pieces of the pie. Right? And India is also a hotly contested media affair. हमारे यहाँ तो बहुत पहले truth had died in media, right? Like as much as I'd like to believe what I see, as much as I'd like to believe my instinct that we can continue betting on India and India will, you know, bring us returns, there's enough conversation about how that might not happen. There's conversation about growth in unemployment rates that we don't see and such.
Sure.
Right? There's conversation about the actual number of skilled labor in market or in the labor force in market, and the suggested numbers are very different because people are not really that skilled, as you know. And so the larger macro concern I have is, am I expecting India to be on the up over the next 5 to 10 years? Like, can I relax and be like, Prakhar, don't worry about the macros, you know, just focus on what you're doing and the country will take care of itself.
That's the whole goal of macro. In fact, when I teach also, I tell in class, you know, the whole idea of macro policy is that Prakhar should be able to just focus on his podcast without bothering about these things.
Right.
That's the whole, that's the stability that we look. Yes and no. Yes, because in terms of stability, as I've told you, we are quite stable. I think 6 to 7% we will do for several years. I don't see that as a challenge. You know, 6 to 7% is a phenomenally good growth number.
Yes.
You know, so that, but then the counterfactual is, could we have done 9-10%? You know, I don't see, unless we do reforms, we improve our efficiency of capital. You know, ultimately government investment alone cannot drive growth. It is a private sector that has to drive growth. And we have to improve efficiency of private sector and remove roadblocks. You know, unless our productivity improves, I don't see how we go to 9-10% on a sustainable basis. Of course, last year we got 8%. This year we will get 6.5%. There will be years we will do 8. There will be years we do 6. You know, that will happen. So, in terms of, if it's a micro question, should a Prakhar worry about his business? My answer is absolutely not. You know, Prakhar is in a great place despite all pollution, right? You know, this is the this is the best place to be in.
Right. And in terms of the growth story, it's great.
6-7% is a good number.
Yeah.
But then in research, we always worry about counterfactual. What else can be? You know, given there is stable leadership, given there is a leadership with vision, which thinks about the country and larger interest, can we do better? For doing better, where my disagreement with the way government is working is government has to withdraw and not increase. You know, and you've been educated in the US, you know, one of the matrices that Milton Friedman has recommended for government is it's not the tax, what's the size of the government in the economy. Ease of doing business is reduce the size of the government in the economy. That had started happening in NDA1. If you look at our total government size, during UPA it was 16%, 15-16%. We came to like 12.5-13% during NDA1. Now we are back to 15%. So government has to withdraw, reduce taxes, cut taxes, you know, let the private sector do its job, you know, and focus on reforms, focus on improving productivity of factors of production, focus on where are the bottlenecks. Labor is a bottleneck, solve. Pollution is a bottleneck, spend all your energy. It need not require money. Sometimes you will have to spend political capital. Right? You know, then you have a choice. Whether I'm not saying you have to spend. Tomorrow, Prakhar becomes Prime Minister and I become Finance Minister. Will we spend this political capital? We may not.
Right.
You know, we may also, what's wrong? You know, if a politician thinking about their survival, not thinking about long-term countries, what's wrong? You know, that's fair enough. I'm only saying if you have this 9-10% growth, then the approach should be like, what is the problem? How do I solve it? You know, what is the current
completely
problem?
agree.
And where is the role? And the question is, can the private sector solve it or the government can solve it? Now, if bank account is a problem, it is the government solving it is the right answer.
Right.
If access to credit is a problem, yes, government can solve it by creating credit infrastructure. RBI can solve it by making credit easy, not difficult. You know, you have to be ready. Of course, NPAs will go up. See, we were at one stage, think about it. This is the same country. 10 years ago, we said, look, you go ahead and restructure. बाद में देखा जाएगा. This is where we were.
Right.
From now we are saying we can't lend anybody loan. You know, it's you can't grow. If an NBFC grows beyond a point, then I'll shut you down. And we are doing all of that.
So वही जो opposite problem
we are seeing growth in unsecured loan of 30%.
Right.
We had restructuring growth of 50%. Then we ignored. Now when you have more information, when you have GST, when you have data, when you have fintech, unsecured loan ही होगा. इस whole fintech का मतलब है unsecured loan.
क्योंकि information is covering up for the collateral.
That's the collateral.
Yeah.
See, collateral is not safe. If I can, I feel like if I can take a class to someone, so it's regulators, policymakers, collateral will save lender's job. जो लोन ऑफिसर दे रहा है ना, उसका जॉब बचाएगा, क्योंकि मैंने कोलैटरल लिया है. बैंक को पैसा आएगा नहीं आएगा, 40% ही आता है. एनसीएलटी में जो होता है ना केस, रिकवरी रेट क्या है? 40% है. कोलैटरल नहीं था क्या? कोलैटरल था. दीज आर सिक्योर्ड लोन्स. फिर 40% क्यों मिल रहा है? तो आरबीआई समहाउ थिंक्स कोलैटरल है तो सेफ है, अनकोलैटरल इज ऑल रिस्की. इट्स नॉट ट्रू. इफ इट इज बेस्ड ऑन इन्फॉर्मेशन, एंड इफ somebody, even the entrepreneur wants to grow, and the banker wants to also maintain information, then it's not that unsafe. होगा. Of course it'll have a higher, होने दो. मतलब 2% की जगह 3% भी हो गया डिफॉल्ट रेट. It is a cost in a growing setup. ये सब होता है. So we have come from one extreme to another extreme. I'm sorry, I'm only talking as if credit is the only problem. ये नहीं है.
No, but it is a large problem.
It's a large problem which I understand.
Right.
Of course, I may disappoint your viewers.
No, sir. It is a
I don't want to talk about problems I don't understand.
It is a large problem that even I understand, because credit in some sense is a country's entrepreneurial lifeblood.
Right.
आपके पास कितना credit का access है, किस rate पे है, कितना stably है, determines how much entrepreneurship will happen. Entrepreneurship will create jobs. Jobs will bring money down to the bottom. The trickle down works like this, and it's like the blood to the system, right? And I think what you're suggesting is that is a hole you found that is unfilled. Like वहाँ पे जो reforms होने चाहिए वो नहीं होते हैं.
उल्टा जा रहा है.
Reform
नहीं होती, छोड़िए. We are restricting unsecured lending.
We are restricting it. And I mean, I often do this puzzle in my head where I'm like, if I were allowed to change one thing that would cause a domino of effects towards the largest good in the country, what would that be? And I've often thought that one thing is judicial backlog clear karne ka system.
Sure.
If you're able to have law and order sorted, then there will not be so many defections from law and order. There will not be so many trust issues, and with trust issues, credits will, all those things start to happen.
Yes.
Right now, a court case has to last 8 years. At that point, there is no punishment. There is no disincentive or incentive to behave properly.
Absolutely.
And what I'm also understanding, you said something very profound about you don't always have to spend money to solve a problem as far as the government is concerned. Sometimes it's political capital.
Right.
Which is that sometimes you have to make decisions that might hurt your political career but might be best for the nation.
Right.
And I also understand that there is a need to reduce the size of government for private players to emerge.
Right.
I think this was common knowledge when I was in school. I don't know how true it is now, that all PSUs are destined to perform poorly except maybe one or two.
Yes.
That public sector undertakings that are run by government, and it could be a skin in the game problem.
Right.
That they have no incentive, the management has no incentive, they will never be fired,
Sure.
they will just be transferred.
Sure.
So there is a lot of these sort of underlying issues. There is infrastructure and education that I insist on consistently, that without proper infrastructure, you cannot have global capital coming here.
Right.
And you cannot have global talent sitting here.
Right.
With proper education, you're not producing that talent.
Right.
And so we do have a spread of problems in front of us.
Right.
But what I also understand from what you're telling me is that we are very much, or we are significantly better off than we could have been or have been.
Of course.
Right.
We are definitely significantly better off.
Right.
Some of them we have made progress.
Right.
But things can be better.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell me about the middle class, or how is the middle class? Is it fair to say the middle class has expanded?
Yes, of course.
Could you also say that the self-recognition, the sort of problem of self-identifying as middle class has led to a lot of upper middle class and lower middle class people also including themselves in the middle class? So we just have an expanded middle
Everybody
class.
Everybody
Everybody's middle class.
I've seen faculty at ISB, my colleagues, who must be, we are at whatever 99.99 whatever percentile. We also say we're middle class.
I think
because we compare ourselves to those very rich people.
No, I think the dominant Indian values, no matter how much money you have, are middle class.
Yeah.
Right? Like you grow up feeling middle class, even though you may not be middle class in that technical sense. Oh, how do you define a middle class?
There is no standard definition.
Right.
You can define whatever you can define based on income, you can based on assets, you can have any kind of definition. It has to be in the middle, median, somewhere in the median.
Right.
But median in India is very, very low.
Yeah.
None of us are middle class.
Yeah.
We are none of us.
Any listener who's followed us up until is probably not middle class.
Not middle class.
Right.
Not in that sense.
Not in that sense.
Not in a strict median sense.
Right.
But I get it. Here, other than filthy rich, everybody claims they are middle class.
And even the filthy rich do that.
Yeah. And what's the definition of filthy rich?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But guys, if you're enjoying the clips that we are putting out on this channel, you can consume all our podcasts in small clips right here. We chunk them together and release them just for your convenience. Do not forget to press the subscribe button.